sometimes our life's work is not what we've been taught. And I think my biggest first life lesson is when I thought I had a great career and had young kids, I was having it all. And it was probably one of the most difficult points in my adult life because I was in my mid 30s and I was feeling so lost in my choices. And it's not that I didn't love my kids, and that's not that I didn't love my job, but I sort of backseated myself, which is so easy to do when so many people depend on you, but in a way that wasn't healthy and a way that I lost kind of my inner compass. And with that, I was pulled to like bring women together and talk about it. And so I tried going to book clubs and going out for wine and even doing some community groups and playing different sports. But I really needed to have some real conversations with women because I felt like I was misinformed about having it all was. I thought it was like you can have it all and it's all going to work out. But in reality, when you have a huge job and you have young kids, you need help. Even if you are married, you need help. You need help. And I think it's hard for women to ask for help. And definitely when they feel like they're striving to have it all.
Hi, JJ. Welcome to the Awaken Heart podcast.
Oh, Nancy, thanks for having me. I can't wait to get into this.
I know I can't wait to get into this as well. And I'm so excited to have you on because you address so many things that a lot of women are going through in this modern day society. And the new book that you wrote, Seeking, I've delved into it. You can see it's bookmarked and paper clipped all over. Is setting for key findings to raise your energy, sidestep your self-doubts, and align your life's work. Because what we're finding nowadays is a lot of women are becoming very unsettled. What they're doing is not really aligning to what their soul is actually wanting to come through and express to themselves. They're like stuck in what I should do. We're stuck in these corporate structures. We're like in more of this masculine energy, which we need. We need both energies within us to balance out, but we're kind of leaning more into that masculine energy of where we're getting things doing and we're defining when we can jump into our feminine energy, which is more knowing, it's connecting, it's a state of being, it's a state of playfulness. And women like yourself are helping to bring this into the workplace where women can actually lead. Emotions aren't this bad thing like, oh, you're too emotional. Like, really, we can empower, the places that we're working with, our emotions and with that kind of feminine energy. And you're helping women like listen to those nudges because we're always trying to figure it out. How do I do this? How do I do that? What? It's about, settling down, being quiet and really listening to those inner nudges. And you had this happened to you. So you're talking when you wrote this book and what you're teaching, you learned firsthand because you felt those nudges. You attained all this corporate and level success, what should be, the top ring of the ladder. And you felt very unsettled. And then you had your children, correct? And then you started leading some of these groups and you felt even more unsettled. And then you began the change, right?
Yeah, I had a tower moment or a
Yeah.
couple tower
Yeah.
moments, as many people would say.
The
And
tower card, right?
yeah, tower card, right. And, tower card, people usually say, oh no, my gosh, I don't want the tower card. But sometimes the tower card is really about shaking up what
Mhm.
is to create room for what is next.
Yes. Yes, the tower card. I know I get kind of excited when that card comes up. It's okay, what can I shake? What can I shake up? So for my audience that doesn't know, they don't know much about you, can you give a little bit of your background about what were the moments like where you were at obtaining all the success that you really worked your way really up there to what is defined as success nowadays, and then how you changed that, what were the pivotal moments and how you followed the direction that you're in now.
Yes, I'll give you the highlights because I think it's important because I think a lot of women are like me in the workforce where they're striving and driving, yet they know something's off or it's just not working the way they thought it was, or they're not finding the joy. And I've had different times in my life where I've been guided to do different things because I was just trying to figure out how to keep it all together. And then there's other times where my soul had another plan. And even though it doesn't necessarily make sense on paper because we're taught so early in life to get there, get it done, get to the top of your class, get that great job, get that promotion, get that award, those will provide you with blissful moments. I think some of us recognize that, yes, there is some joy in many of those things, but sometimes our life's work is not what we've been taught. And I think my biggest first life lesson is when I thought I had a great career and had young kids, I was having it all. And it was probably one of the most difficult points in my adult life because I was in my mid 30s and I was feeling so lost in my choices. And it's not that I didn't love my kids, and that's not that I didn't love my job, but I sort of backseated myself, which is so easy to do when so many people depend on you, but in a way that wasn't healthy and a way that I lost kind of my inner compass. And with that, I was pulled to like bring women together and talk about it. And so I tried going to book clubs and going out for wine and even doing some community groups and playing different sports. But I really needed to have some real conversations with women because I felt like I was misinformed about having it all was. I thought it was like you can have it all and it's all going to work out. But in reality, when you have a huge job and you have young kids, you need help. Even if you are married, you need help. You need help. And I think it's hard for women to ask for help, and definitely when they feel like they're striving to have it all.
Mm. Yeah, and a lot of women are feeling that a little bit of unsettling, like something's just not in alignment. And you said something very important that happens with a lot of women because it's how we are raised to give despite of yourself, to give to your children, to give to your job, to give to your husband, to give to everything first. And I believe there's a whole chapter in your book, or maybe it's a chapter, or maybe it's a section about choosing me, and that it's not selfish to choose me, that alone time is so it's sacred time for us. So women that might have been in that position about here I've got this corporate success and I have the children, I have this wonderful husband and this household. How do they begin choosing themselves to feel that it's okay to prioritize their needs? Because literally I always talk about how you have to fill your own cup first and then go from the overflow. And a lot of times in our head, oh, that's selfish, that's selfish, that's selfish, to to like get past those like voices in your head and all the old conditioning. How can women begin to feel that it's okay to begin accepting themselves and choosing themselves first?
Well, I think it's just really good to just start with guilt because no matter what you choose to do, whether you choose to just drive down the street and get a coffee, or you decide to go on a day hike or go to a day retreat, or maybe you decide to get on a plane and go somewhere, I haven't met a woman yet that doesn't have some form of guilt. And I talk about how when you leave the hospital, you also leave, in addition with the baby and all the stuff, you leave with this backpack that I call guilt. It's a
Mhm.
guilt backpack that is very hard to take off. I think at any like level, once you have kids, or if you don't have kids, maybe your guilt backpack is work or your family or what you've committed to in the community. And I think for many of us, recognizing that we probably are going to feel guilty. And I think if you recognize you're going to feel guilty, it's almost easier to be like, okay, well, there's the guilt. I have it. All women have it because we should be somewhere else, as I talk about a whole chapter about the I shoulds of your life. But really, I think for many of us, it's not just about feeling guilty. It's not just about the I should be there, but it's about creating space for yourself that you believe you deserve. And
Mm.
I think for me, that was a huge life lesson for me, one of my key 74 findings, because I had to believe I deserved it. And I had a really hard time getting like to being real, if I'm going to be real, it was really hard for me to believe that I deserved it because I was already working. I was already doing all the stuff at home. And I felt like, well, this is what I should be doing. This is what my mom did. This is what her mom did. And I feel like we have a traditional track of mothers and wife roles and sometimes significant others, or, you might be a foster parent, or you might take care of your elderly parents, or you do things in your church. Whatever it is, it's like give more than you have mentality.
Mm. Mhm. And these shoulds, what is a powerful statement or what is a powerful thing to do to replace these shoulds? As soon as they
Well, I
come
think
out,
if you,
should.
yeah, if you hear the I should, I always be like, why? Why? Why should I do that?
Mhm.
And a lot of times it comes back to things that have nothing to do with the thing that like should be doing, right? I should make brownies. I should go on that XYZ. I should meet those people. Why? Why should I do that? If you can't answer the why, then it's pretty easy to be like, is it because I feel like I should because I feel guilty, or it should because I've always done it, or I should because my mother would want me to do it, or whatever. It doesn't really matter who it is. But I think the point for many of us is you have to find space in your schedule to shift your trajectory. And if you're doing so much I shoulds and you're saying yes to so many things that really aren't important to you, or you really shouldn't be doing them, you need to kind of start letting those move on, or delegate those, or kind of start having conversations like, in 3 months, I'm not going to be doing this anymore. I'm taking my life in another direction, or I'm going to be doing different work. Because the reality is you have to create space to invest in yourself.
Mhm. And that creating space is initially it's a mental space to begin with, right? It's creating that it's okay, allowing. It's like having compassion with yourself. It's an opening, it's an allowing, right?
That's exactly right. One of the things that I had a really hard time with is really understanding like that I had a full-on conversation happening in my head all the time, and that was often driving my decisions. And it wasn't until I was highly encouraged to take mindfulness classes, which I didn't do easily because I thought it was goofy. But I eventually started going. And even when I started going, I wasn't 100% committed. And it took me weeks to really get into the benefit of mindfulness, but it really is a cornerstone for the shift that I've experienced over the last 8 years, which is giving myself space to see how I talk to myself, to see what's happening in my head, to see what is driving my decisions. Because if I feel like I'm constantly trying to prove myself because I don't feel good enough, then I'm going to say yes to things that I probably shouldn't.
Mhm. It's funny. This isn't, um, I just had an experience yesterday. It's not about a job or the corporate field, but the shoulds came up and it was an old relationship. He had reached out to me. He had texted me, my phone's off at like 3 in the morning, my time, which would still be midnight his time, which is unacceptable for me. And so needed to address it. And I initially go, okay, 3 o'clock is kind of late, even 12. And it's like, no, Nancy, don't be mean. I hear that. Don't be mean. Or like, how is he going to take this one? I'm like, it doesn't matter how he takes it. 3 o'clock is not okay with me. So I did say that. He's like, oh, well, it's LA time. I'm like, 12 o'clock would still be too late. So anytime before 7 o'clock. So, but I heard those like, be nice. No, and it's like, no, this isn't right. This isn't what I want. And if they can't take it the right way, then so be it. But those shoulds come up so many times, whether it's in a job, whether it's in family, whether it's in relationships. And it's like you said, it's opening up the space for it to do what is really right for yourself and in alignment with yourself. And you're helping a lot of women to access that. And a lot of women be like, oh, I'm not ready for this, or who am I to share this? But who are you not to share your light? Because when you share whatever your gifts are with the world, it encourages others to do the same. It encourages your light lights another candle, lights another candle, lights another candle, and your vulnerability or not having it all, not being perfect is what inspires other women because they feel the same way. Like if you're looking at this beautiful perfect image, how am I supposed to attain it? It seems so far off. But if you hear the struggles from another woman and then seeing where she is now, it inspires them to do the same. So I love that, like lighting the candles for other women. So how can they start infusing? You always talk about finding purpose, personal fulfillment off the side of the desk and getting, women can get off their hamster wheel. But while you're pursuing those personal fulfillments, when you start getting the nudges, you might, like yourself, went to classes, listen to podcasts, getting inspired for certain things. Some things don't work, some others do. But it's, lighting that fire within yourself. And then when you do find what it is that you want to pursue, don't quit your day job initially, because there's a lot that entails with, growing your own, passion fueled business. So can you explain a little bit what you mean by, off the side desk, creating personal
Yes,
fulfillment?
yes. Yes, thank you, Nancy. I
Mhm.
feel like many women start things off the side of their desk. And when I started, well, so I wrote my first book in 2010, which was really about how do you find yourself and all your yeses, called The Working Woman's GPS.
Oh,
That stands
yes.
for Goals, Purpose, Self. And that was like the first time I really started thinking about my life and my decisions and the energy that I had. And from that, I got invited to speak at a lot of conferences and a lot of women's events. And I started recognizing that women, wanted to know how to get promoted, how to get on a board. And that was really the fostering of my second book, Accelerate Your Impact. And while I was speaking at a lot of those events, I would see women working so hard to get there, wherever there is for you. And I would even notice, like in the crowd, it seemed like women were kind of like sitting next to their body, like they were so much in their masculine energy. And men and women both have masculine energy, but we also both have feminine. But because a lot of us are in corporate America or have businesses, you're entrepreneurs that are in, sell to corporate America, we have to heavily sit in our masculine energy. And I feel like for a lot of us, we find things off the side of our desk that really inspire and empower us. And so I meet so many women that are doing so many interesting things off the side of their desk that they haven't yet really figured out how to create a revenue stream or how to make it their full-time thing. But they do it because it brings them joy or they feel really good when they do it. So, I know, like as you would, as your mother, even that beautiful picture behind you,
Mhm.
being an artist, or maybe you are into crystals, or maybe you like to go to drumming circles or you're studying to be a yoga practitioner. I think those things off the side of our desk are so insightful to what our soul is yearning to do.
Mhm. Mhm. And then seeing what is actually lighting us up on the side of the desk and bringing it forward. And I have it bookmarked in here somewhere, but I really found it so interesting. I think you were working with someone or somebody in your tech savvy group. Do you still run that, by the way, or no? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a revenue stream for me, but
Mhm.
I started Tech Savvy way back in 2008 when I wanted to talk to women about how to keep everything going. And I started it on LinkedIn and
Mhm.
it's still going, it's still going.
Mhm.
I really just oversee it, but the women are in the group helping each other. And I don't know, it's a great milestone, I think, of how you can start anything from anywhere. And
Mhm.
it started with 12 women and now it's up to like 9,000 women on
Wow.
LinkedIn. So like,
Wow.
don't worry. This is my own thing I always share with people. Don't worry about the how. Just
Mhm.
start working in that direction because the how will figure itself out. And it's probably so much bigger than you could even imagine. And I've had
Mhm.
many examples where things have taken off and then I get opportunities to do things I could have never even dreamt for myself. But you have to lean into what is calling you.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's when we start listening more to our intuition and tapping in. And you said something really important because it's not ours. Like it's not this thing that's it's tapping into something that's greater than ourselves. It's like, I talked about the topic of surrendering. You have these ideas and you surrender it to this or more, or this or something more, something greater is waiting to work through you. And it's almost opening up that channel to be a conduit for these beautiful gifts that need to be shared with the world. And something that I was so impressed with, um, well, first of all, tech savvy women, it just started when you wanted to talk to people and show them, like, it was about like personal growth and all these alternative healing modalities. And, they're in the technical world, but here's all these beautiful um, I can't say new age, but like personal development things that you were bringing to them. Now there's 9,000 people, but I thought it was so impressive. There was a woman in your book where it was based around emotions in the menstrual cycle. And where is
Oh,
it? Um,
yes, yes, yes,
menstrual
yes.
cycles and how it's a missing piece to power women hold on our
Kinga.
planet. Beautiful.
Yes, Kinga. Kinga's out of Kentucky. She was a
Mhm,
speaker at an event that I was at, and we
mhm,
had a call afterwards. And we were just talking. She's a PhD in psychology. She really has worked in the prison systems and other ways to understand mankind and cycles and things. And she does Ayurveda off the
mhm,
side of her desk.
mhm,
And she said, I map Ayurveda to my cycle, my menstrual cycle, so that I know when I should work on things, when I shouldn't, when I should need a
mhm,
break, when I need to go at things at 120%. And she said, but I would never talk about that necessarily because I want people to take me seriously.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
And I'm like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Like, there is nobody else in the world I've talked to about this. This is your
Mhm,
superpower.
mhm,
And she's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can talk about that. And I'm like, Kinga, like, you obviously have a gift. There is some wisdom that you have about the cycle and wisdom you have about the cycle of life. And marrying these two could give women incredible power on how they move through life. And so we talked for 2 hours. We were supposed to talk for 30 minutes. And since then, I've gone to Kentucky and spent time with her. And now she's having her first women's conference here in October. And I saw it on the agenda. So I feel like it comes to you as a whisper. And over time, it continues to show up for you. And I think leaning into what is calling you, even if you don't know what to do, just start talking about it.
mhm,
Maybe research people that are already working in that field, or just read a couple books or podcast episodes on it. There is really no accidents, and life is happening for you. So if you're getting a message or you're yearning to do something that seems so crazy, lean into it.
mhm, mhm. And the whole thing about menstrual cycles and women, and it almost seems like she was tapped into her ancestors from the past, like because our lineage is still written in our DNA. So there's things that if you think about an animal or a bird, they start making nests. It's just a natural thing. Nobody really teaches them, maybe their mother does, but they've flown the nest. But it's just like it's going back into the natural rhythm that is nature. We're nature, beauty, Mama Gaia, Mother Earth. And it's like women are feeling so misaligned these days, even though since the feminist movement, it's done some good things, but it's also done some really horrible things to mix things up. But it's like, women went into the corporate world, and then the government started raising the kids, and that's a whole other subject. But we're coming back to this natural, like our ancestors, like when your grandmother and your mother, we used to raise our families together, and we had these women's circles, we had our bleeding tents, we had things that we were more tied into our own divine nature, our earth nature. And it seems like the whisperings a lot of the women are getting are connecting them back to that. And when you, as women who are listening to this, can really start following through on those nudges and bringing them into the world, there's so many other women that are going to follow suit. And I think it's such a beautiful returning to the divine feminine and the feminine, and a rightful place. There's never been not a rightful place on earth, but times are changing, and there's a beautiful femininity rising. And and then we balance out the masculine. So can you talk a little bit about the masculine and feminine energies? I think that's such a beautiful topic to always bring in, because I feel a lot of women have lost the power of being feminine and being in their feminine nature. And it's actually the most powerful force on the planet right now, really.
Well, I mean, I touched on it a little bit before, and I will
Mhm,
say that, we all have masculine and feminine energy. society really leans on the feminine. I'm sorry, that's crazy. Wouldn't that be an amazing planet to live on?
Mhm.
The planet leans on the masculine, right? Get it done, measure it, monitor it, drive it forward, keep track of it. It's all these very tactical and a lot of ways of things that you can like that are you're striving in a direction. And it's funny because a lot of the organizations around the planet will even tell you not to tap into the feminine or the feminine is no good. Like, how could you know? Or, you have a feeling or you have a sensation. No, that's not true. Or that's not, you shouldn't follow that. And I feel like the planet is perfectly orchestrated to convince the feminine energy that there is no place here.
Mm.
And it comes in all different ways. And I think that we as women and even men that have really good feminine awareness in their energy are recognizing that there's more going on than meets the eye and that the planet needs more feminine energy. And the feminine, as you've already talked about Gaia and Mother Nature, that it's really sort of our connection with something bigger, our connection with Mother Nature, our intimate intimate knowing. It is our intuition. It is a collaboration, cooperation. It is acknowledgement and alignment with seasons. And it is wildly powerful, wildly powerful.
Mm.
So there's almost no surprise that there are many organizations here on the planet that continue to discount it
Mhm.
so that we don't tap into it. And they'll say, well, you can't do drumming, or you're really not supposed to do those circles, or that goes against what God wants from you. But I feel like the women know more now than ever. And, the Mayan calendar ended in 2012, and we've had some pretty big upheaval of energy around the feminine energy and even in corporate America. And I feel like that the shift is happening. We are moving from the fifth sun to the sixth sun, which is all about the feminine. And I think there is no accident that people are coming out of the woodwork talking about what they're doing off the side of their desks.
Mhm. Mhm. And that knowing and that intuition and us, being connected to that and being kept offline actually was to keep us, oh, what is it, the last 2000 years? Like we used to have high places in society and then we were kind of like put into this narrative and kind of squashed our beautiful natural talents. And, there's the whole era of the witches and the witch burning. And, if you had that nudge or if you, were an herbalist or you knew things about that you couldn't explain, you were tortured and murdered for. And it
Yeah,
was a really horrible time in our
scared us.
history. Yeah. And it still lives within us. Even though we didn't personally experience it in this lifetime, it still resides within our ancestry and inside of us. So um, that is still something that when you were listening to the nudges and something might be trying to keep you safe by protecting you from really, but once you really can tap in to that beautiful, like those whispering and nudges of your soul, like your life can just look at your life, like look at where you are right now. Like had you not listened, you might be burnt out on that
Oh,
corporate ladder.
definitely. And I will say that, so I do a lot of speaking at women's events around the country and online throughout the world. And women will often ask me, why do women not support women? And I often want to say, it's our soul's memory, because when they tortured us, they pit us against each other.
Mm.
And in doing so, we have these memories of us not supporting each other, but those are just memories. And I think for many of us, we have other great memories of when we have supported each other. And I believe that these alternative practices, these ancient practices, these energy work is where women are going to come back together. And since I've started, my third book, I really started interviewing all the light workers or energy practitioners or ancient wisdom, women that have ancient wisdom, and men too. I've been interviewing them and sharing their expertise because when I published this book, Seeking, when I tried to get it published, they're like, well, it's not really, it's a spiritual book, but it's also a business book. So where do we put it? Because there's really no place for this book. And I said, well, that's because it's a bridge book. It's a bridge book to help women move over to their feminine
Mhm.
knowing in business and in life. And they're like, but it's not fully spiritual. I'm like, yes, because it's really a path of awakening.
Mm,
And so if you're feeling unsettled or you're feeling like you're not sure why things aren't working out, if you're feeling exhausted or burnout, this book is really a tool to help you sort of dig into your own knowing, your own whispers in a way that is natural for you because it's a very guided book that you can jump in anywhere you want that's calling you, but it really helps you kind of sidestep that inner conversation to give yourself space to really pay attention to what is calling you.
mm. And so how did they actually categorize it? And you know what? I've kind of went through that myself when I used to be in LA and I tried acting. This is way before Jessica Alba and all those dark-haired beauties. They're like, you're really dark. Like, how do we categorize you? Your hair is really dark. Well, we can't put you here. We can't put you there. Like, how do we categorize you? Well, what, why do you have to categorize it? So where did they, I know they have to put it into some genre. So what genre did they end up putting
Well,
it into?
it's amazing because I actually
I don't
published
see it.
this book
Oh,
myself
you
and created
did.
my own publishing
Good for
company
you.
because I felt like as a third time author, all my books are award winning. They've all received awards. And I felt like if it's this hard for me to get published, it's hard for a lot of women. And I know how to publish a book. I know how to get a book out there. And I'm going to open my own publishing house.
Mm,
And so in the fall, I'm going to start a course that really helps people like the 101 of, well, it's not really the 101 because I've done it 3 times. So it's maybe the 301 course of how to effectively publish a book and what are all the resources you need? How do you move through the process? Because we need more women's voices out there.
mhm,
And if book publishing is one of the challenges, I'm going to just help kind of
mhm,
move that to the side because I feel like we need more feminine energy, more knowing, more insight in the world. And it's going to come from the feminine energy. It's going to
mhm,
come from the women. So, like I've done in all my books, like let's plow through the barriers so that we can work together to raise the energy of the planet.
mm, I'm going to send some people over to you because I know their books need to be heard. And this book isn't just a book that you just read through. There's like exercises. You can see I started some of my horrible chicken scratch handwriting. There's prompts and there's quizzes and there's activities for you to do really some deep introspective work. And once you start doing that, like you get little ahas and things become more clear and there's clarity. So this is a powerful fully packed book with all of your stories, everything that you went through that a lot of women can relate to, and you can really dive deep into yourself and really uncover the gold that is waiting there to be discovered. So, yeah, yeah, my little activity book on this fall day in the summer. Yeah, I dove in with this again with a little cup of coffee this morning. So, yeah, so that's great. Um, so what's lighting you up right now? I know you just mentioned that you're going to be, I'm so impressed that you published this yourself. I had no idea. And so you're creating this course for authors to get a book published. What else do you have on your plate right now? Are you do having any seminars? Are you going
Well, yes,
to?
yes, yes. Well, I'll just say, like, I have a team. I work with a publishing team, like a team
Mhm,
of women that
mhm.
help me publish. And they'll be behind the scenes for my books that we're publishing with other women too. So it's not me sitting at a computer, like laying your book out. That would never work. I'm dyslexic. I'd be a disaster. But at this point in my third book, I have found so many resources that are women to do book covers, to do edits, to do layouts, to do marketing, to do podcasting. Like you need so many people to help you get a book out there. And you want to do it, as you know, like it has to be a good quality book. Like the fact
Mhm,
that, you want it to be a good quality book. And I feel like it's time to override some of these very traditional masculine publishing houses that make us jump through hoops,
mhm,
promise nothing, take our rights away from us. People have rights to their books and their content. It's their content.
mhm,
And just like Taylor Swift, I mean, she had to re-record all her songs to get her content back. And I just don't think that's the way you want to start with your books. You want to own your own content. And I think that's a really important thing for women, especially with power of their own words. And I think and you want to be able to sell it and move it any way you desire. And I think sometimes we just have to change the paradigm of how this is done so that we can
mhm.
help more women. So that's that on the book. And I'm happy to help you. You can reach out to me, DM me. I answer all my own DMs. Okay. So what's new? So in 2016, I was asked to bring the women together outside. And when I first heard it, I was in Seattle leaving a stage with hundreds of women in the audience. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not bringing the women outside right now. Like I was in a conference center, like, how am I going to get them outside? But that was the first of many whispers about bringing the women together by the trees, bring the women by the water. I just kept getting these messages of getting women outside. And I finally realized that it was like more of a retreat thing, which I was like, well, I really had never been to a retreat and I wasn't really even sure how to do a retreat. But I sat on it for about 2 years and I finally called a guide, an energy guide, and her name was Dora. And I talk about her in the book and I talk about like my conversation with her. And she said, JJ, I'm like, what? She's like, what is the stress? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is going to cost so much money. What if people don't like what I put together? What if they think they pay too much? What, blah, 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 on and on and on. And she's like, JJ, build what you want to go to. And to me, that was like, build what I want to go to. Well, I want to have this type of chef. I want an organic chef that like produces local food. I want to have a tapping expert there. I want to do iridology, which is the study of the eyes that tell you what's happening
Mm,
inside. I want to do essential oils. I want to do mindfulness and drumming on the beach, and I want to do it by the
wow.
tree. I want to do mindfulness walking. Like I had a whole list of things that I wanted to do. And within 4 months, I had my first retreat together.
Oh my gosh.
And
Wow.
that was 2018. Last week, I think I had my 14th or 15th retreat, but corporations came together,
Mhm.
big corporations, and said, JJ, we want you to host retreats for our women clients. We want to give them ways to refuel. So that happened last week.
Mm,
And through this process of the last 5 years, I have been like granted from the universe this amazing retreat facility that I could have never imagined for myself. It is so much more vast than I could ever imagine. And the thing I want to remind the listeners is all I did was lean into what was calling me. It said, bring the women outside.
mhm.
After 2 years, I brought the women outside. And once I really leaned into that, it sort of just blossomed. Now, did I have self doubt? Absolutely. Right when women were walking in the door of the first retreat, I was like, JJ, you're an idiot. How can
Mm,
you do this? Why
mhm,
did you do this? People
mm,
are going to hate this. They're going to think they paid too much. Da 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 da. And I really had to use that mindfulness training to compartmentalize that self talk and say, I got this. I got this. Whatever happens is going to be beautiful. And so I've had to learn to override that self voice or that inner voice, especially the one that's not super supportive in times when I'm really afraid or really questioning my decisions. But I would say that leaning into what was calling me and managing that self voice has been the two instrumental things that have really shifted me in this new direction.
mm. If you build it, they will come. The field of dreams. That's what I'm
Yes.
hearing.
Yes, yes. And I feel like you just build it small and build it to something you want to attend so
Mhm.
that you really have to just give yourself permission to lean into what is calling you off the side of your desk. And like the retreats came after I started getting women together. I started getting women together in 2008. The retreats came in 2018. So all those little events I did from 2008 to 2016 were prep work for the retreats in 2018. And I feel like every step matters, even when it seems like it doesn't.
Mm. So these retreats, where did you have them in the same place or did you have them all over the place? And I know you have a retreat center. Is that where a lot of your retreats are going to be now? Or are they going to be in different places?
Well, I love to travel. I have a Sagittarius moon, so I love to
Mhm.
travel. So I may organize some things that are like elsewhere, but I started my retreats in Vermilion, Ohio, because I had a little
Mhm.
cottage there, and then I would rent someone else's cottage, and the two
Great.
cottages together accommodated it. And the retreat center is also in Vermilion, Ohio. So most of my work will be done there. But like I said, I love to travel. So if I put together a Napa trip or something, that's because I try to do what I want to go
Mhm.
to, and then I invite my network to join me because I feel like someone else has to want to do that too, right?
Mhm. And if you're doing it somewhere that you're excited about and putting all the content and all the, all the classes and the food, everything together, something that you're excited about, it's like a natural progression to attract those that might be interested in the same thing. It's like you're doing something that you love to do. It's not like you're doing something false, like going to an igloo and trekking up a mountain somewhere and like carrying all that heavy equipment. That would be horrible. But to some people, it'd be exciting, but you wouldn't be able to attract the same group of people or the same people that you attracted now into your groups that you're based on something that you love to do and that you wanted. So, well, that's great. And so when is your next retreat?
Well, I just had one last Thursday, so it'll probably be at least a couple, like a month or two until we get the next one. But I'm right now, I have all these energy practitioners. I have the space. So I'm really trying to like bring somebody into my life that can help me organize and
Mhm,
put all the puzzle pieces together so I can do more. Because I'm doing like 3 to 4 a year, but I really
mhm,
would love to do more because I have so many amazing energy practitioners now that are in my network that I want to share with more women. So I'm just sort of thinking about it, and I feel
mhm,
like I'm just kind of asking the universe to help me find the person that can help me orchestrate all
mhm.
these pieces.
Okay, maybe they're listening right now. So how would you do it in Ohio if it's winter? You just or
Hmm.
you do maybe go to Florida for a winter month? Because if it's 6 times a year, you're definitely gonna have to have one, like, in, like, January through March, and it's pretty
Oh,
freaking cold over here.
absolutely. And I've done them. And the house is an
Yeah.
estate, so it's a
Oh,
huge
yeah.
house. So we've done it has some indoor pools. So we do sound bowls in the indoor
Mm,
pools. There's a 2 floor, like massive room that has incredible energy. I've had so many mediums and just energy workers there that tell me like where the power parts are of the house, which is
mm,
just the place is so spiritual. It's very a lot of vortexes, a lot of pyramids. And so I've been doing sound bowl experiences. We're going to be working on polar plunges with Lake Erie. We're going to be working
mm.
on mindful walking outside in the cold.
Oh my
And then
god.
just working with I'm actually having a farm event tomorrow night there with 30 farms and orchards. And so we're going to have, we're going to be working with them to do picking experiences and fresh food and canning and pottery. So there's so much to do. And the whole goal of every time we get together is to really work from the inside out.
That is sounds amazing. I'm just looking up Vermilion, Ohio. You're not far from me. 2 hours and 41 minutes. So,
Nothing. You
yeah,
got to
on
come
Lake Erie.
visit.
I
Yes, you're going
will.
to have to come
I'm
up.
hearing about Sandusky. Is Cedar Point still out there?
It is. It
Oh
is.
my god.
But there's Lake Erie is a portal. So
I
there's
didn't
just
know
so many
that.
light workers around the whole region that is just incredible. In fact, I have events just for light workers, which I'll probably have in November,
Mhm.
where I invite all the light workers that can drive in to come together and just share their story with one another. And that is crazy powerful because, having communities of light workers is so
Mhm.
powerful.
I'm gonna have to keep in touch with you because that's something I'd definitely be interested in, especially since I moved back out here. I don't really know anyone. I have family and I have a best friend. We've been best friends since like what, 40 years now, I think. It's crazy. So, yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. And for all my listeners, I know we've got to jump off this call soon. And where can they find you and how can they work with you?
Well, you can always join my community Together We Seek. That's where I interview all the energy practitioners. It's a free community. But you can also find me on Amazon. If you look up Seeking and the number 74 or Seeking and JJ, you can find my books, or you can find me on all platforms. I'm on, many platforms. Obviously, having a corporate life, still do a lot on LinkedIn under JJ DiGeronimo. So I look forward to connecting with you in person. And for your listeners, you can always reach out to me.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. There's one last question before you go. I ask all my guests. What does it mean for you to live with an awakened heart?
For me to live with an awakened heart, I work to recognize that life is happening for me
Mm,
and that every conversation, interaction, intersection is perfectly orchestrated for me on my journey to expand my soul and awaken my heart.
beautiful. Even in those moments where like, oh, why is this happening? He dented the side. I fell off my bike. Oh, I'm lucky. Like that just happened to me. My shoelace had wrapped around. I wasn't going fast. So yeah. So I had literally like, oh, my shoelace, that could have been bad. So yeah, recognizing that life is for me even if it's something that we didn't really expect or want. So beautiful. Well, thank you so much, JJ. I can't wait to hopefully meet you again in person. And everybody, you need to check out her book and dive deep into seeking and bring out your beautiful light. Thank you, JJ.
Thank you, Nancy.
All right, bye-bye.